I love Transformers, but I love money more. That's why I didn't buy the Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime. I just couldn't justify it for that price. But I am so lucky that I waited, because the AS-08 Iron General is basically the same thing as the official, but for a fraction of the price. And if you watched my first impressions of him, you will know how much I was looking forward to this. Holy shit, it looks so good. He looks so good. But after owning him for a few weeks, did my hype for him die off? Not at all. He is as beautiful as the day that I got him. He just has that really nice aura, which makes for an amazing shelf presence, even amongst larger figures. He's just so special that my eyes keep locking onto him whenever I look at a group of Transformers. And that's partly due to his nice proportions. He is so buff and blocky in the best possible way. All of his proportions are so nice in my opinion. It really gives off the stoic and gentle leader vibe. I like it a lot. And in terms of accuracy, I'm not too sure. I am pretty unfamiliar with how G1 Optimus is meant to look from the show. But then again, the show is pretty inconsistent. But I do know that he is missing something on his shoulder. Regardless, I still think all the proportions are really nice. But that head is so beautiful. It is so clean and it just looks so nice. It is amazing and I literally have no issues with how it looks. I think it's sculpted perfectly. It really encapsulates that aesthetic it's going for. And the stylization overall is so beautiful. The sculpt work is intentional, where the plain, flat areas don't make him look flat, but instead work amazingly to produce a clean overall appearance. The areas of sculpting are really nice, and they add another dimension to the overall look of the figure. Though, I do think the legs have a bit too much sculpting, and I think it would suit the clean, really nice aesthetic more if they just turned it down a bit. Which does say a lot coming from a Beavis fan. But yeah, sculpting is overall nice. But what's not nice is that backpack. It does protrude quite a bit. Well, I mean, it's not as bad as other Transformers, and it is very solid and dense. So actually, I don't really mind it at all. And this is not a third-party figure, so it's basically impossible to have virtually no kibble. But this figure does come close. Everywhere else is perfect. The arms, the chest, the legs, they're all spotless. Even from behind too. They are perfectly geometric with no extra parts or holes at all. The lack of kibble just blows my mind. It adds so much to the overall aura to him. I don't consider the backpack an issue, and I think they handled the kibble management very well. I just wish it actually tabbed in properly. At the start of owning this guy, it did tab in, but as I just kept playing with him, it just stopped. And now it just sits there, and it doesn't lock in at all. I guess that's what I get for getting a KO. He is sort of disintegrating, but we'll talk about that later. And before we move on, let's talk about his ass for a bit. I'm not sure if this blue thing is meant to be protruding out this much. I do know that it is accurate, but I'm not sure how accurate this is. So yeah, just let me know if you guys are knowledgeable on Optimus Prime's ass. And going back to the topic about disintegrating, the front leg panels were completely fine out of the box. But after a few transformations, they became very, very loose. They no longer tab in and just rest there instead. They come undone all the time now, and it's pretty depressing. But it doesn't really get in the way when you move his legs around, and it doesn't come undone unless you want it to. And now we go from things being way too loose to things being way too tight. Every single joint is so difficult to move, and you can hear the plastic grinding with each swivel. Not gonna lie, I do get scared that I'll eventually break this whenever I pose him or transform him. If you guys are careful and handle this properly, I don't think he'll break anytime soon. Like for example, this joint right here is very, very tight. Not sure if you can hear that, but it's a pretty bad sound. So just be careful, and whenever you move a joint, just make sure you hold as close to the joint as possible to avoid breakages. I am sure that the official version doesn't have these quality problems, and this is something I just have to accept, getting a KO. But this is something I accept happily for the price I got it for. Because despite those issues, the actual plastic quality itself is pretty good. I was expecting subpar plastic quality, just like with this guy, where you can feel how light and hollow the plastic is. But I was pleasantly surprised with this Optimus Prime. It's decently high quality, it's solid, and it's quite hefty as well, with the help of these die-cast metal tanks. So this KO definitely has a very nice feel in hand. Obviously, the plastic quality isn't as good as the official releases, but it's one of the better feeling knockoffs. And in terms of paint, there's not much. But that is accurate because all the colors line up perfectly with the G1 cartoon. The paint that's here though is applied very cleanly, which I am very surprised. I was expecting paint splotches and errors in paint application, but they even got the yellow lights down perfectly, which is so surprising because this is a really cheap KO. And the overall lack of paint does sort of work here. It adds to the aesthetic that it's going for. I don't know, I usually would be pretty sad that there's not much paint. But with this guy, I just don't get the plain and boring Transformers vibe when I get something that's unpainted. Just like with this disgusting figure. Maybe it's the fact that this is accurate, or it's just the colors working really well together. One of the biggest reasons to why this Optimus Prime is so much cheaper than the official is because they got rid of most of the accessories. But this Optimus Prime still has his axe, gun, and the blast effect. Which, to be honest, is all I really need. I don't care about trailers at all, and the other accessories he came with don't really interest me. And the weapons itself look very nice, and they work well with Optimus. They are unpainted, and the axe plugs into the hand by flipping it first. Just be careful, because this is very, very tight. And yeah, that looks so cool. The axe is definitely my favorite weapon. I just wish it's stored somewhere on the robot mode. And the gun is okay. It's iconic, it can store in the backpack, and it has an included blast effect. However, it doesn't really plug in that well on my copy, which is unfortunate. Before we continue, I forgot to mention that he does include a matrix. I would show you a picture of him holding it, but I can't get it out. Once I put it in, it was stuck. Yeah, it's very hard to get out. I don't think I can get it out now. Closing it is pretty easy and pretty satisfying. Personally, I am quite happy that they cut out most of the accessories to lower the cost. The weapons they left are the most important accessories for any figure anyways, because they allow for really nice posing. Optimus Prime poses really well. He's not missing any joints whatsoever, and the range on everything is pretty decent. I would say that it makes him fun to pose, but as I said before, with how tight everything is, it's sort of a struggle. But the articulation itself is not lacking at all. If I were to nitpick though, I would love to have double jointed elbows for full range, and maybe a foot movement upward as well. At a Commander Class price point, I would like to see these joints. But as is, the posability is excellent. And before we transform him, here is him with a Deluxe, Voyager, and Leader. He looks so beautiful next to other Studio Series 86 figures. It's very nice, and he fits perfectly right next to them. Here's him next to my other Studio Series Optimus Primes. Even though I am a Bayverse glazer, and I do prefer the other designs more, I have to be honest. As a toy, I actually prefer this Optimus Prime. That's just because of how amazing this robot mode is. And what's also amazing about this is the transformation. Because the engineering on this figure is so good. It's such a joy transforming him back and forth. There are a lot of fun steps that are just nice and satisfying to do. And it's really cool just seeing everything come together It's just very satisfying to do and very satisfying to see. The engineering is not too simple that it's boring, but it's not too complex that it's annoying. It finds the perfect balance between the two. I am sort of addicted to transforming him. It is very interesting. And the truck mode we end up with is surprisingly kibble free and satisfying. I just love how the colors work. It's very, very appealing to my eyes. I love how the red forms a perfect block and the blue forms a really nice rectangular prism. It's so geometric and it's shaped perfectly, making it so satisfying to look at, and the feeling is also really satisfying. Everything tabs in so well, and it's solid, dense, and perfectly heavy. It has such an amazing feel in hand, and I'm not worried about anything coming undone. It is an amazing truck mode. I do think it's much better than the Studio Series Bayverse Primes, where the Bayverse Primes have quite a lot of kibble. I also think it's actually better than the Rise of the Beasts and Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime's trucks. And since we started the size comparisons, here is him next to a Deluxe, Voyager, and Leader. He somehow carries the presence from the robot mode into the truck mode, and he just commands your attention in truck mode as well. If I had to nitpick, the back of the cab is not perfect, and the toes are pretty obvious. That is perfectly understandable, and I don't really mind. But what I do care about is how the weapons have nowhere to store, which makes me so frustrated because I hate having loose weapons. I guess that's my fault though, for not getting the official with the trailer. And speaking of the official, do I think it's worth it given how good this figure is? No. I am way too stingy to pay the full Commander price for this guy. I will say that the robot itself is 100% worth the Leader price point. But yes, I understand that the trailer and accessories and everything else increases the price, but I am not paying that extra price just to get those accessories. So if you just like the figure itself and don't really care about the extra stuff like me, I 100% recommend getting this guy. The AS-08 Iron General is an excellent way to get your hands on this mold for an affordable price. Just be careful with how tight everything is, and you should be fine. Thank you for watching this review, and I hope you have a good day or a good night.